Hi, I'm Bob. Welcome to Bob Appetit. And today we're going to be making beef stew with potatoes, barley, and of course beef. It is March 3rd and we are going to be making beef stew with everything you see in front of you. Obviously we have beef, potatoes, carrots, celery, onion, everything we need. And I'm going to be showing you, I'm kind of winging it. I've never made beef stew from scratch. I've looked at a couple recipes for guidance. I've had a lot of beef stew in my life, including my mom used to make it all the time. So we're going to experiment and we're going to try it out and see how it goes. Okay, so starting with the beef. You can get beef cubes pre-purchased. That's usually the easiest way to do it. It's a good cut of meat. Our case, they didn't have it when we were looking, so my wife got a London broil. It's a little bit more lean than normal, so it might have to cook a little bit longer to get nice and tender because it doesn't have as much marbling as your normal beef stock, or beef cubes rather. Okay, so like I said, my wife got this London broil for no other reason than it was on sale, and it's very good quality meat. The butcher did a pretty good job trimming it. There's only a little bit of the silver stuff I got to take off, and there's not very much fat, so I'll do that real quick here. I'm not very good at this, so as you can see. The secret is to get your knife under the edge of it and just go lift it and go under it. That's pretty good. We're going to cube this up. Let me get my good knife. Okay, so this is already cut about 1.5 inches thick. Usually the meat comes a little bit thinner than that, but I don't think I'm going to cut it across. So I'm just going to make my slices a little bit smaller. Because you want them to be about 1 to 1.5 inch cubes. This is a bigger piece of meat than I need. I think this is actually about 2.5 or 3 pounds. You probably use about 1 pound or 1.5 pounds. So I'm actually gonna, I'll do one more, and I'm gonna save this other half of my London broil for another meal. Okay, so I'm gonna cut these, cubing them. It's maybe a little bit thinner than it need to be. That is like a perfect size cube right there. Some of these a little bit thinner because I cut a little thin here, but it'll be just fine. So when I'm done cubing this, I am going to put them in, dip them in flour and braise them in a Dutch oven with some oil. All right, so there we go. But I'm going to finish my prep here. Let me clean it, put a new cutting board down, and I will do the vegetables. So I've put my cutting board away, washed my hands, and I'm going to use a new cutting board. Fish. I'm not making fish, but that's okay. Get a clean knife. Okay, I've already washed the carrots. You can use fresh carrots, peel them of course, cut them in cubes. I'm gonna cut these in about another half each. These have already been washed. These are the baby carrots they buy pre-peeled, pre-washed. I'll wash them again anyway, and I'm gonna cut them all up real quick. My carrots are all cut here. I'm making it like stew, which is like basically a thick soup. So I want smaller pieces. If you like your stew to be big chunks, like kind of like a pot roast, you definitely don't need to cut them as small as I did. You can leave them, you can take the big carrots and cut them in chunks or however you want. Now I'm going to do my celery. It's already been washed. Gonna cut off the stuff I don't want. And we're going to dice this about the same size. For me personally, I like big chunks of celery because people can take them out if they don't want them, but they still get all the flavor. So I'm cutting on about 1 inch. There we go. All right, we're going to use about half an onion. If you like a lot of onion, put more in. It's all going to cook apart, so you won't get big chunks of onion in this. All right. And my onion. The last thing we're going to do are potatoes. I'm going to be doing probably 4 of these potatoes, maybe 5. I'll have to see how it looks. So I've already washed these potatoes, picked off a little bit of eye here and there where they're popping in. All right. I am not going to peel these. Sometimes I peel them for something like this. I'd like to keep the skin on. I'm going to do these are yellow potatoes. For something like this, some people like russet potatoes. They mush apart more. They're better for like mashed potatoes and things like that, pot roast. But for this, I want the potatoes to hold up a little bit more. So I went with the yellow potato. You can get golden potatoes, you can get red potatoes. They're a waxier potato. They hold together better. So these are about 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch. Yeah, I'll do one more with the last small one. Okay, potatoes are done. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to flour the beef, and then we'll go over to the stove top and we will start braising it. Okay, so I'm going to, you can always flour them individually, or I'm just going to put them all in a bag with some flour. There's about 1/2 cup of flour here that I got out. I'm going to use some of it here, and some of it I'm going to use to thicken my gravy towards the end. So I'm going to put maybe a little over half of it in here. I'll put the beef cubes into my bag. The old shake and bake way, if you ever remember having shake and bake when you were kids, having to shake and bake your chicken or your pork chops or whatever. Easiest way to do it. All right, they're all floured, ready to go. Now I'm going to move over to my stovetop and start cooking, braising these. Okay, so I have a new Dutch oven I got. My last one was kind of getting old, I think. I think rust was starting to leach through the ceramic enamel, so I got a new one. So we're trying this one out. And I'm going to put it on a little over half heat. And I'm using a little bit of canola oil. About a tablespoon and a half, 2 tablespoons. All right. We're going to let that heat up for a minute or two. Okay, I washed my bowl that I had the beef in because I'm going to put my cooked ones back in here. So I'll put that back here. And we're going to start. It's nice. Yeah, it's not smoking yet, which is okay, but it's nice and smooth. It should be good to start cooking in. Yeah, it's sizzling a little bit. So we're gonna start layering these in, single layer. You don't want to pile them too high. Probably gonna have to do all this in 2 batches. Yeah, that's good. We'll let them go. Cook for a few minutes. We're just braising these. You don't have to cook them fully through. You just want them to get browned on the outside, start caramelizing a little bit. The flour that's on it is going to help add color, as well as when we put the broth in later, that will actually act as some of the flour to help thicken the gravy. Yeah, they're looking nice. Browned. Flip them all over, if we can. You don't really have to get all the edges. I'm just trying to get a little more browning on some of them. And they're starting to stick a little bit, so I'm going to, when I take these out, I'm going to put a little more oil in for the next batch. Flavor. I just don't want it in there for the rest of the cooking. Put more oil in. And we'll put our next batch in. So we cook these for about 3 or 4 minutes on each side. Ah, they smell good. So I'm going to get ready for what we're doing next. We're going to put onions in here and a little bit of broth to deglaze the pan. So these are about done. I'm going to go ahead and pull these. These are going to stay nice and yummy back there. Notice they're still a little pink. That's perfectly fine because they're going to be cooking in broth for at least 1.5 hours to 2 hours. They will tenderize and get more flavor and impart more flavor this way. So now we have our stuff down there. We're going to put our onions in. And we're going to be using about 6 cups of stock total. But I'm going to put about 1 cup in right now to help deglaze and go cook with the onions. So there's half a cup of beef broth, beef stock, whatever you want to call it. I get the unsalted. You can always add salt. You can't take away salt. So scrape the bottom good. Get all those yummy parts off. Okay, now we're going to start adding our, let the onions go just for maybe 2 minutes till they start getting a bit soft. I did not saute them. Sometimes I saute them before I cook them in beef and things like that, but today I figured I'd just do them in the broth. Smells oniony. Smells good. Smells like onion soup. So I am going to put the start adding the other ingredients. I'm using 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar. I saw a bunch of recipes that called for red wine. Some that called for vinegar, like balsamic vinegar. When I grew up, I think my mom always put apple cider vinegar in hers, so I figured I'd go red wine vinegar. It's a good in-between. This is going to help soften the meat as well as give it a little bit of the tangy flavor. Not too much. It's only 1/4 cup. And we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. More or less to taste. Okay. And we're going to we'll start with another 2.5, 3 cups of stock, because I already put half cup in to deglaze it. You can always add more stock if you don't have enough liquid. So that's 2 cups for a total of 2.5 cups. All right. Now I'm going to put the carrots and celery in. And we're going to want this to come back to a simmer before I add the meat in. So it'll probably take another maybe 5 minutes. All right, while this is still coming, I'm starting to bubble. I'm going to turn it up a heat just a notch. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my thyme. This is the only seasoning I use. I'm going to put in about a half a teaspoon. If you have fresh thyme, probably best, but they didn't have it at the store this week, so I'm doing dry stuff. All right. I'm going to put about a half a teaspoon of salt, sea salt. And about a quarter cup, or a quarter teaspoon rather, of black pepper. There we go. Okay, it's starting to bubble a bit. Now we're going to add our beef cubes back in. I think I probably made more beef than I needed, but I'm going to put it all in anyway. It'll be very, very beefy. All right, put my broth in. Now, one thing I did realize was usually when I'm cooking a big piece of meat like this, I would rub it down with a coarse kosher salt. It helps it brown while it's cooking, and it also helps add some flavor, pull some flavor out. I didn't do that, so I might need to add a little more salt than usual towards the end. We'll have to see. So it's starting to bubble up. Notice just from the flour, the broth is almost like a thin gravy already. We haven't even thickened it, which we won't do till later. I'm going to add the potatoes now. So it's starting to bubble. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it, turn it down. I know it's going to go a lot more. I'm turning it down to about a little over half heat. You want to have a fast simmer, but not a boil. So I'll check in a few minutes, see how we are before I set my hour-long timer. So it's starting to bubble. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it, turn it down. I know it's going to go a lot more. I'm turning it down to about a little over half heat. You want to have a fast simmer, but not a boil. So I'll check in a few minutes, see how we are before I set my hour-long timer. That's better. It's going to continue to simmer. So I'm going to leave it here at this heat, and I'm going to let it go for about an hour. I'll see you in an hour. Okay, so I got about 5 more minutes for the hour. I'm going to check it, see if it's ready a little bit early. Good bubble. Stick a little bit on the bottom. Let's see if we can break that loose. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to taste the broth and check the texture of both the meat and the potatoes. Okay. Put another good pinch of salt in there. Check the potato. Yep, still firm, but fork goes into it nice. Good texture. Let's check one of the beefs. See how tender they are. It's good. Able to cut it easily in half with a fork. I ate it, so it's pretty good. All right, since it is ready a little bit early, probably because it was boiling a little bit heavier than it needed to be earlier, I'm gonna add a little bit of broth, like maybe half a cup. And I'm gonna put a half a cup of barley, medium pearl barley. The barley will help thicken it a little bit as well. It will add a little more texture, a little more grain to it. And that will take about 25 minutes. You'll start seeing the barley puffing up nicely. So we'll check back in 20 minutes. In the meantime, now's the time you set up whatever else you might want to have with it. In my case, I'm going to be serving it with, we used to call them whack biscuits, the biscuits with the flaky biscuits. So I'm going to put them in the oven. A lot of people will serve it with egg noodles. When I was a kid, we just ate it like soup with bread, but I'm working with biscuits. Some people have mashed potatoes with it. I don't agree with the mashed potatoes because it's got potatoes in it, but if you like the texture of mashed potatoes, it's good. Okay, so about 2 minutes before my 20-minute timer goes off, I'm going to check it, see how we're doing. It's looking good. It's smelling really good. There's the barley. I don't think the barley's quite done. They get bigger than that. It will need to go the next 5 minutes. So in this case, it'll be a total of 25 minutes. So I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, so it's been our extra 5 minutes, total of 25 minutes since we put the barley in. Total of an hour and 15 minutes for cooking. So we're gonna check it out. Oh yeah, that looks good. Now, the question now is, do we have enough gravy or do we want it thicker? I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. If you want it a little bit thicker, you can always just take a little bit of broth, mix some flour in it, and whisk it back in gently. It will thicken it up after another 2 or 3 minutes of simmering. But I think this is done. I'm going to take it away and get ready to serve it. Here we have our beef stew and our biscuit on the side. And thank you for viewing. Enjoy. Okay, as I mentioned in the beginning of my video, I made beef stew from scratch, based roughly from a couple guidelines I saw from other recipes and from my memory of having it made. I want to let you know how it went. It tasted very good. The choice of London broil was excellent. It was very tender. It was very soft and easy to eat. The only not complaint, but the only thing I would change next time, and if you go by the recipe card below, this has already been updated. I only used 4 cups of broth. You definitely want to use 5, maybe even 6. The gravy was very good, but it was very thick and there wasn't a lot of it. I would want more gravy in the future. Also, reduce the barley from a half a cup that I mentioned in the video to maybe a third or a quarter cup. Other than that, it was very good. I will definitely be making it again. My wife and son both really enjoyed it. Thank you.